Our older neighborhoods need help. They've been deteriorating for decades, and vacant lots, crime, and hopelessness have taken root. Negative social behavior, poor schools, and crumbling infrastructure are part of the result. What can we do? One thing these neighborhoods need is an infusion of new investment, abatement of real estate taxes on any new construction or remodeling that takes place within a large abatement area always works, especially in older parts of a city. If a builder buys a property or a whole block and builds on it, that new house or building will pay no real estate taxes for 10 years. The taxes on the land will remain. Unlike in a TIF district, the incentive and the benefit goes to the investor owner of the new structure, not to City Hall. With tax increment financing, an investor has to be invited in by City Hall or has to ask to be invited. The process is subjective and sometimes not available to investors or builders who aren't politically connected. Many builders are turned off by all the red tape involved in a TIF. With a general tax abatement, no one needs to get a bureaucrat's blessing. It simply defines a blighted area, and anyone who has resources to invest in new construction or renovation qualifies for the tax abatement. The same thing can be done with older commercial industrial areas. In fact, we did do it. Back in 1987, Illinois had just passed an enterprise zone statute the year before. Following that, City Hall designated the riverfront commercial industrial area all the way from the McCluggage Bridge to the far south end as its enterprise zone. There were a number of benefits a city could confer on such zones at its discretion. It seemed to me, however, that the incentives City Hall was using were paltry, even unserious. I urged them to use tax abatement in the zone. That is, if anyone built or remodeled anything that caused their building assessment to rise, the taxes on that rise would be abated, that is, not charged, for 10 years. I explained that it would cost City Hall nothing and would probably result in construction that wouldn't have happened otherwise. But if the program was a complete failure and no one took advantage of it, City Hall would be out nothing. After a lot of wrangling, the council passed it unanimously. Did it work? Yes, it did, and better than even I thought it would. After 4.5 years, monthly building permits in the zone were up 42%, and the dollar value of those monthly permits was up a whopping tenfold, 1,008%. Remember, all this happened with no public expense. We just changed the rules and incented new construction. And 2 other points. First, think of the jobs that were created through this program, both construction jobs and the permanent jobs once the construction was finished. These were good jobs, jobs that paid good wages, with health care and pensions, jobs that could support a middle-class family. Secondly, this large land area, which had been declining in value for decades, now was rising in value. Land values are not abated under this program. Only new construction investments are. So even while the program offered tax abatement for 10 years, the rising land values were taxable. All the local taxing bodies benefited. For the first time in decades, they were actually getting more revenue from this area, and that increase began immediately. This is what tax abatement can do. About 2 years ago, I found an unused Illinois statute that allows cities to use tax abatement in older residential neighborhoods that need substantial investment. Chuck Weaver, who was then a city councilman, and I began to put together a proposal to use this statute to revitalize older neighborhoods in Peoria. We decided a good area to test the idea would be the North Valley, from I-74 northeastward to Spring Street or even to Abatement. Once again, such a program would cost the taxpayers nothing. We were almost ready to introduce it when Chuck was appointed to the state Senate and I decided to run for the city council. But actually, we're still working on it. Chuck has introduced legislation in Springfield that would allow rehabs in these neighborhoods to enjoy the same abatement benefits as new construction does. And as a member of the city council, I will introduce an ordinance to enact this cost-free benefit to that neighborhood. I suspect that as it takes hold and begins to incent new investment, other older neighborhoods will clamor for the same system to be applied to them. Think of it. Our inner city revitalizes itself with no public money. Tax abatement is part of a whole new approach.
John Kelly, at-large candidate for Peoria City Council.